So James Cameron said some kind of wild stuff about physical media collectors and enthusiasts the other day, and I just want to talk about it. A lot of you guys sent this to me, so you may have seen the quote, but basically James Cameron was being interviewed and he did get a question about his recent remasters of The Abyss, Aliens, and True Lies, and that controversy surrounding those releases. And his response was essentially, if you're sitting there and reviewing the grand structure of movies, you need to move out of your mother's basement. It wasn't the best answer I've ever seen from a celebrity. James Cameron can come off as pretty arrogant and, a little bit closed-minded many times when he's asked questions about that, or especially when he's challenged on something related to his films. But I just wanted to respond to that comment because even though he didn't phrase it the way I would have, I sort of see where he's coming from, but I also have issues with what he's saying because he should be a little bit more aware of his audience. So let me start with the issues I have. First of all, James, listen, if you're remastering your films like The Abyss and True Lies and Aliens, and you're putting those in theaters and selling tickets for re-releases and then selling the 4K discs, and you're banking on all of that work and all that effort you put in to, obviously, I would think, make you some money. Not that he cares, he's a billionaire, but you would think that at least the people who worked on it, you would want to make them some money, and this should be a profitable exercise if you're a filmmaker. By telling people that they should get out of their mother's basement and essentially making the assumption that, everybody who's interested in this stuff is, quote unquote, a loser who doesn't have a life, you're alienating the audience that actually buys those tickets. Like, who do you think is showing up to watch The Abyss in theaters remastered, or True Lies, or Aliens? Like, it's your most hardcore fans, and your most hardcore fans are the ones who are going to care the most about the way that those re-releases look and the way that those remasters look. So I found the comment really odd because, who are you doing that work for? You're doing that work to appeal to the superfans, and then you're telling the superfans that they're losers. And now, I know not everybody who goes to see those remasters and who bought the discs cares about that stuff. Like, there are just James Cameron superfans who are going to watch it no matter what and enjoy it. But you really are alienating in talking about a core part of, I think, your audience, especially, at least on the 4K disc side, that care about that stuff. So it was a really odd comment, and I wonder if he truly just feels that way and says, screw you guys. Like, I do get that vibe from him. I've never been a huge fan. I like his movies, his older movies. I don't care much for Avatar. Titanic is okay. His newer stuff, honestly, since the mid 90s, I haven't really cared for James Cameron much. He hasn't done much for me, but it was just really odd to alienate that group. Like, who do you think is watching and caring about that stuff? People who pay attention to it. Now, not to be on James' side here, but to play devil's advocate, I do understand a little bit of what he's saying because I have said similar things in the past, especially recently, not to the level of, the insult that he dropped, calling everybody a loser, essentially. But I do think that we get lost in the sauce sometimes. We start pixel peeping is what I and others have called it. And we start getting too deep into these discs and breaking down frame by frame, screenshot versus screenshot, zooming in on things, just basically watching things in a way that's totally unnatural. Like, if you're going to watch a movie in a theater, or if you were to watch something, and you didn't know the difference between Blu-ray, 4K, whatever, and nobody told you what kind of disc you were watching, you wouldn't sit there and take pictures and freeze frame and zoom. It's just a totally unnatural way to watch a movie. At that point, you're watching a disc and you're watching a remaster, and that's what burnt me out mostly on doing all the 4K reviews. I didn't feel like you're a loser for caring about grain structure and things that I've talked about in the past, but I did think that it was just too much. I understand what he's saying. It's too much. Everybody has something to complain about essentially every release that comes out now. Nothing is ever good enough for that hardcore group of people. Everybody has a complaint. Like, I get that. I was feeling burnt out by that. I just wanted to watch movies and enjoy them. And that's where I understand what he's saying. He could have said it a little bit more eloquently for especially somebody who's, in the public eye as much as he is. And of course, when he gets challenged, he tends to get that way. He tends to just get like insanely aggressive and defensive. He's gotten this way about other stuff too. So I'm not surprised. And honestly, he's a billionaire, so he can say, I don't care about you people. And it won't affect him. But I do get that part of it. Like, we do need to move past looking at the grain structure and, just if you don't like it, don't buy it. Watch your Blu-ray, watch your DVD. Like, we can't tell James Cameron what to do with his films. We can't. And I've always felt that way. Even, I don't get as, obviously when I reviewed the James Cameron movies, I think, first of all, True Lies is as good as it's ever looked, regardless of its issues. The same with Aliens and the same with Abyss. They're all the best they've ever looked. Are they perfect? No. But if I'm buying 4K, I want the best they've ever looked, and that's what I've got. I didn't get perfection. I'm okay with that because it looks better than anything I've had in the past. But I'm not a huge James Cameron super fan either. So I wasn't going to get all uptight about the way that these looked because I really just wanted certain things like True Lies in an HD format so I can enjoy it and not have to, buy a bootleg or watch a DVD or something. I just wanted a high quality version of it. I got that. Not perfect, but I got it and I was happy. I understand if you're a super fan how you could get lost in that world, but something like Star Wars, which I am a super fan of, I've come to terms with just like George Lucas is going to do what he wants. And I'm not going to let that ruin the movie watching experience for me. Yeah, now when I watch Star Wars A New Hope and I watch Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, there's weird things that were in there that weren't in there when I watched them as a kid. I have the VHS tapes with the originals if I ever want to go back to them. But it doesn't bother me anymore. I'm just like, it's such minor stuff that's changed. Whatever. I'm still enjoying the movie, watching the movie for what it is. Now I may feel differently if somebody had messed with Jaws, if somebody had messed with Halloween, movies that are deeply, deeply close to me, that I am in that 1% of super fans. I understand where you guys were coming from on the True Lies stuff, and I get it. It's just, for me, and I think for 99% of the public, we just don't care. We just wanted a good version of the movie. A lot of people are totally oblivious to it, wouldn't even know what to look for, wouldn't think twice about it, which is why, he is kind of calling out that hardcore 1%, which is, on one hand, why I think it's odd, because those are his biggest super fans, but on the other hand, I get it. We can't please everybody. He's pleased 99% of the world, but the 1% that's being the loudest and complaining about these, and now he's getting asked questions about it in interviews. I'm sure he's frustrated by it, but you kind of made your bed, lie in it, back your remasters, which he did. He backed them. He said those are, done by everybody who does my remasters, and I look at every frame, and if that's what he wanted, that's what he wanted. But I just thought those comments were really interesting. It brought back up a point about like how directors and filmmakers can mess with their movies over time. It brought up a point about remasters. It brought up a point about, again, like watching a movie versus watching a disc and the difference between those two things, and just enjoying physical media and movies for what they are, like getting high quality versions of films. And I know this isn't as good as we could have gotten, but again, the best we've ever had, so I can't complain. It brought up a lot of those points, and so I just wanted to make this little quick off-the-cuff video to talk about that and give my thoughts on it, because a lot of you have asked on Instagram DMs and sent me some emails with links to the article. So there are my thoughts. James came off as kind of an asshole. He seems like he is kind of an asshole a lot of times. He's kind of earned the right to be a bit of an asshole if he wants to be at this point. He's done more in Hollywood than most people ever have. So I get it. He also has the right to tinker and play with his films however he wants to. But I would say, James, next time, think about your super fans, man. Think about that 1% that truly care. If they're voicing their concerns in a constructive, respectable way, I think you should address them. If they're screaming from the rooftops and just screaming that it's garbage and it's trash and all the other things that I have seen, I get it. You don't need to give those people the time of day. Totally understand it. But James, I hope you don't think we're all losers because we buy your movies, because trust me, we're not. 4K, Blu-ray, physical media, DVDs, building a movie collection. It is a little offensive. I know who you're addressing with your comments, but it was a little rough to read, honestly, as somebody who really enjoys this stuff. Because, like, I don't live in my mother's basement. Most of you guys don't. I haven't lived in my mother's basement for many years. I will admit, at one point I did, after college, live in my mother's basement. I think we've all been there. But I don't right now. And I have a family. And lots of you guys, you have families, you have jobs, you have kids. Like, it's a little bit bigger than the simplified stereotype that he threw out there, which I just think is a little bit dangerous and probably doesn't do the physical media world any favors. He's definitely not helping the cause when he's calling people out like that. I appreciate you all giving me a heads up on this, sending it over to me. It's always nice to have new things to comment on and help create content. I thought this was definitely a good thing to talk about. So hopefully you enjoyed this little off-the-cuff chat. If you did, subscribe to the channel so you get all the latest. Make sure to follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, whatever you want to follow me on. I'm on all the platforms. You can find those links in the video description as well. And I just appreciate y'all coming out to the video and watching each week as you do. So thank you all. Appreciate the support. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and I'll talk to you all soon.